Hi Anne-Marie, this is the second part of your module where we're going to actually look at you working on improving the stop-start. I'm just looking here back over a little slide that I showed you at the beginning, and that's all about the ABC of behaviour. And that's to say the antecedent comes before the behaviour, comes before the consequence. So the antecedent is just a fancy science word to say cue. Behaviour in this case is start and stop, and the consequence could be praise by your voice or a scratch or food, or just the removal of pressure. So if you've used a touch to ask the horse to walk on, or you've drawn the rope towards you to get them to move on, a little bit like your little wiggle rope of the rope that you do, the removal of it is the consequence that teaches the horse. So the way that a horse learns a cue, the cue could be anything. You can learn to canter from saying the word sausage. It doesn't matter. Really, you pick your cues that they suit you. So I like my voice cue because I can use it when I'm on the ground, I can use it ridden, I can use it at a distance. So if my horse is galloping towards me, I can use my voice cue to do something about it. But the cue needs to fit your purposes. So this is the very first thing I want you to do. I want you to go through again and think about what cues you used. Remember that we found you use quite a few as well as the verbal one of walk on. So think about it. Do I want her to follow my feet so that if I move my feet, she moves hers? That can be quite helpful for some people. So I'm not saying you can't use that. I'm just saying be aware of what it is you choose for your cue. So the first thing you're going to do before you even video anything is to think about what cue do I want to start and stop. And if it is the vocal one, I have to stop myself doing all those other things before I use my voice. I have to use my voice first. The other things could come after it. So if you said walk on in a clear way and she didn't, you could touch her at her shoulder, you could draw her a little forward with the rein, anything. You can move your feet, but you have to decide the cue that you eventually want to be the strongest, and that needs to come in first. So that's the very first part that I want you to do. Now I'm going to show you a very short clip of a horse stopping, and I want you to look at how clearly he stops with very little from his human. But he knows he's able to watch horses like dogs and other humans and other mammals, is quite capable of watching for little signs. So, you know, if every time you sneeze, you stop, your horse will learn to stop when you sneeze. It's just how behavior happens. So let's have a quick look at that video. Now you can see how he's in his own balance. This isn't in a Baroque style, and that's not a problem for now. But can you see how he maintains his own balance, and you see how he opens his front feet, and he opens those front feet to find his balance. So if I'm all over him like a rash, can you imagine how trying to find that balance with his front feet is very hard? So I want you to do, for the next part of the module, I want to see the two of you stopping and starting, thinking about your cues, checking yourself to think, what is it that actually I'm doing first? And I want you to use a long rope like I've got in this video so that you can build up a little bit of distance between you and Ninka, and that there is the ability for her to stop on her own. And when she stops on her own, I want you to tell her how amazing she is, either with your voice or by turning and scratching really hard with your hand. Sometimes a hoof pick or a little curry comb can be useful. So if they like being scratched, you know, they know they did well. So this is really going back to the very basics of her understanding, because as you saw in the video, you often had a situation where she just pushed on past you a little bit. And you see in this video how the horse doesn't do that. He responds to the cue, which could be my feet stopping. In this case, you know, it's a very light cue. He sees my feet stop and he stops. Or it could be from your voice. So cues are able to be multi-layered eventually. So if you wanted to add other things to them, you could. But to begin with, we need it to be really simple. What does she stop off most easily? And what does she go off most easily? Now, I thought she went forwards quite nicely out of most of the ones that you showed in that video. So now I'd like you, with your help of your very kind lady who I don't know whether she does the videoing or just guides you, but I like to see some halts like this, where your foot front onto the camera sometimes, and sometimes side on like you were in the video before, and so that I can see you really clearly allowing Ninka to stop in her own space, so that she's not reliant on your hand, and she's just learning to stop with you. Later we can put you in any position we like. We can put the bridle on and you can have one arm over the neck. But to begin with, I'd like to just see you in this position, very gently, very quietly at her shoulder, and her stopping with very little from you. Put your whip down. You're not going to need your whip for this work at all. Be as uncluttered as you possibly can. Keep safe, obviously that goes without saying for all of your video work. And if you can get me 2 or 3 minutes, that will leave us some space to do another little video session afterwards when you've done this. So you'll end up having done me 3 videos, and I hope you'll feel that that's been good value for you and that you've learned a lot through that. So I would first of all like to hear from you telling me what you think you'd like to do with your cues. Think about it. Have a few days to think about how you would like her to react. What's your dream Ninka? Is it her stopping off a breath? Is it her stopping off whoa, halt, stand, or is it you're giving a hand gesture? Is it lifting lightly on the rein? Is it your feet stopping? Think about it and decide what you think you'd like to do. And then, with the very kind help of your videoer, get out there and video some from the front like this and a little from the side as well, so that I can really see those stop and starts clearly. And you don't need to be in the bridle. You can be in the bridle and just have a really loose feel on the rein. You don't have to stand as in the Baroque class up to her shoulder. So as soon as you can get that to me, I'll give you some comments on it and we'll go from there.